I'm on blood thinners for the rest of my life. And that's when the reality set in. I'll never forget talking to my doctor and being, I still get emotional.
I completely understand.
I got hired at 19, bro. I'm 34 years old now. I don't know anything else other than being a cop. And I remember telling the doctor, I said, this is it. I go, if you write that down, that I need blood thinners for the rest of my life, I go, you're taking my career away. And he goes, let's just play it day by day. And about 2 months after I had been on blood thinners, he says, I need to do something and I need to make this official.
Welcome to the Transition Drill Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Pantiani. I appreciate you taking the time to watch. So let's get into this.
The car show is Sunday. My cousin, who's a CHP out of the Valley, he's coming down in his show car. So we rented an Airbnb on Friday, Saturday night, and then we do the car show Sunday.
Is cars in your family? I mean, does everybody do it?
Everybody does it, bro. I grew up, there's pictures of me when I was in diapers watching my dad sand on cars, paint cars.
Did he do that as a living?
No, he did it as a hobby. My dad was a correction officer, retired 30 years here at Soledad CTF State Prison. And he was just into cars. You know, him and I, in 2001, we restored a 1968 Pontiac Firebird. Him and I did it in the garage. A buddy of his painted it. And we went to Hot August Nights in Reno, and we finalized 100 out of 3,000 cars.
Sweet.
That was the first car we ever did. And since then, I got my car here, the orange one, and then I'm working on a 1988 Honda CRX.
Where did that come in?
A buddy of mine, police officer in Salinas, injured on duty, retired. We were both cops around the same time, 98, 99. And he got injured, moved to Texas, left the car in 1996, parked at his mom's house when he joined the Marines. Called me up after he got to Texas, and he's like, hey, remember that car from high school? I said, yeah. He goes, I still have it. I said, shut up. He goes, make me an offer. And so I said, sure. Went over there, took a look at it, $400 later. It's a 1998 Honda CRX convertible. We chopped it, and hydraulics, custom painted, naked girl on the hood. It's ridiculous, dude.
So do you have a preference for the cars you like to do?
I like muscle cars. Being a former gang officer, I am not too keen on the lowrider lifestyle. You know, it comes with its own trouble.
Right.
But that's what I grew up on. I grew up with lowriders. I grew up with mini trucks, and now all us old guys can afford it. So I'm getting back into it. Gonna fix it up, and we'll see where it goes.
What's the dream car?
Dream car. I actually put my name on the list for the electric Mopar that's coming out in 2024.
That's not really a muscle car. I mean, it'll be great off the line, but I mean,
yeah,
that's
coming at 1,200 horsepower supposedly. So
my only issue with electric cars is if you ever want to take them on a road trip, it's not like charging them is the most convenient.
Exactly. You can't charge them. I just want it for the look.
It'll definitely be different.
Yeah. The first thing, I mean, the minute I get a car, I'll give you an example. My dad called me up yesterday and he says, hey, do you remember your uncle's old 87 Ford F-150? My dad and my uncle are like two peas in a pods. Their cars are immaculate, right? And I said, yeah, I remember that old Chevy, that old Ford. And he's like, he wants to give it to you. And I said, well, I'm going out of town or else I'd go pick it up, right? So on Monday, we're going to go pick up this old pristine It has like 60,000 original miles. I've already ordered a lift kit and wheels for it.
Is it a 4-wheel drive?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a single cab long bed Ford F-150.
So you don't have an allegiance to a particular brand?
Mopar.
You are a Mopar guy?
Yeah, I'm a Mopar guy. My wife we were Ford guys at first. But now I'm into Dodges. I drive a FCA Jeep. My wife has a Jeep. My kids have Chrysler 300s. I got the Dodge Challenger. So
your old man, was he a Ford guy?
My old man was a Chevy Pontiac Fireman.
Okay, because I was going to say for the first car.
But he had the Super Sport. He had the Chevy Impalas. He had everything. Just as long as it has nice body lines, we can make them look good.
Now, have you made the switch? Are you somebody who still likes old in the sense of carbureted, that type, or are you fully new? So even if you had an old car, would it all be new under?
It would all be new. Yeah. So one of my buddies, a good friend of mine, he has a 69 Chevy Camaro, and it looks, the only thing old on it is the shell. Everything else has been redone, electronic fuel injection, everything. So that's what I would do.
They're definitely more reliable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's go backwards. You mentioned Salinas. Where is Salinas' hometown?
Soledad is hometown. I was born and raised in Soledad. 1977, born and raised in Soledad. And Monterey County, that's my stomping grounds, dude. That old cliche where, I wanted to be a cop from day one, right? I shit you not. Excuse my language. Sorry. Kindergarten. My mom sent me the freaking kindergarten pictures with the freaking badge on my chest, dude.
But you said your dad was a correctional officer, so it was already basically in your blood.
It was. Correctional officers, I could never do it. I could never do it. I saw the type, and no disrespect to correctional officers, I could not do your job at all. I couldn't be in there 16 hours a day. I remember my dad coming home. Long story. I remember sitting I was sick one day, and my mom took me to the clinic in Gonzales, and we're sitting there with a room full of people in the clinic, in the waiting room, and a white prison cop car shows up, hauling ass right in front of the entrance. My dad comes out covered in blood. And I'm like, what the hell? We were just random watching my dad. Everyone's yelling. And the rifle, there was a fight that broke out in the late 80s. And back then you can shoot at the inmates, right? And the guard tower shot, and the 7.62 or the 223 ricocheted, and it exploded in my dad's face.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I could not, going back to correctional officer, I could not do it. I could not be in there 8 to 16 hours a day.
Did he get sustained injuries behind that?
The doctors said that if it would have gone just a little bit more, he would have been blind in his left eye.
So it was all basically shrapnel to his face?
Shrapnel that got him, yeah.
So as a young kid, you knew law enforcement was going to be in your future, but what was, for you as a young kid, what took up your daily life?
I'll never forget 8th grade graduation. My parents bought me a police scanner. That was it from there, dude. I spent all summer just listening to 10 codes, to the phonetic alphabet, listening to calls, listening. Back then, it's still kind of like that now. Monterey County has North County, which is Salinas, and then you have South County, which is Gonzales, Soledad, Greenfield, and King City. Everybody shares one frequency.
Even today?
Even to this day. So I remember as a kid listening to the scanner, knowing what streets were going, what was happening in Greenfield, King City, Gonzales, listening to Salinas PD scanner, and then the Monterey County sheriffs, they cover the rest of the town, the rest of the county. And I sat there, and I know my friends thought I was probably weird, but I would listen to the scanner, and I memorized those damn 10 codes, freaking phonetic alphabet. I bought a penal code book from the local library and started studying that, and kind of knew what they were talking about. And then it just stuck with me. I knew what I wanted to do. Fast forward a little bit, from 8th grade, I graduated high school at the age of 16 and a half. I was going to be 17. And
really into academics, apparently.
No, my parents started me young.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I hate school. I can't do school, dude. But I graduated, and I wanted to be a firefighter. I would go on ride-alongs every day with the police department, and half of the PD at that time was volunteer firefighters. So I joined and became a firefighter. I was a firefighter at 17 years old.
When did the switch happen that you went from wanting to be a cop to wanting to be a fireman?
It was at the same time. I actually was just hanging out with all the cops who were firefighters. So it was just another way for me to hang out with them and, get my so-called foot in the door, right? And I did that for a year and a half. At the same time that I was a volunteer firefighter, I was going to college. I got my level 3 reserve or level 2 reserve, the PC 832. I did that, and they were hiring. Soledad at that time was hiring reserve officers. So I applied, went through the full background, did the full medical, did the psychological, did everything, and they offered me a level 2 reserve position. So as long as...
How old are you at this
I
point?
Was 18, going to be 19.
I was going to say, if you got out of high school early, then you're also still young to become
I was still young. I was 18, going to be 19, and I became a level 2 reserve, was patrolling every freaking night with these guys, out there. They would use me. They would call me up, because Soledad back then only had 2 officers on nights, and they would call me up. Hey, we have it in custody. Can you transport? Sure. 2:00 in the morning, there I am, jumping in a patrol car, taking a guy to jail, bringing him back, right? So I did that for a good year and a half. And,
were you handling regular calls for service?
On the weekends, I would log on and I would jump in the patrol car with the officer, and it was kind of like a, not an FTO type of thing, but they were teaching me the ropes.
Right.
They were using me. I was the new guy, and I did that, and then I got serious and I said I want to do the police academy. And I told my dad, I said, hey, I want to do the police academy. Back then, the tuition was $1,400.
So you were still looking to put yourself through the regular academy?
Yeah, I still put myself through. They had changed the name to South Bay Regional Training Consortium in Gilroy, California, at the Gavilan College, and it was $1,400. I drove up to San Jose, signed up, and they said as long as you have the tuition by the academy start date, you'll be fine. So I was trying to come up with the money. My parents and we have a good relationship. They'll give me the shirt off their back, but don't ask for money. To this day, you don't ask for money, and I made it to the day before the academy started with like $700 to my name. And I said, I don't know how I'm going to do this, Pops, but I need to ask you for the money. And he gave me a check, paid the tuition.
Charged you a garbage load of interest.
Oh my God, dude! Yeah,
You're still paying today.
It just mentally. Remember when I started your career, son?
That's $700 that'll never go away.
He actually gave me the 14. I had $700 to play with for gas money, right? And he gave me the $1,400, and to this day doesn't let me live it down. But I go to the police academy. I get my uniforms. Everything in. First day of the academy, I get a phone call from the training officer. He's like, Rodriguez, come to our office. I said, what's up? They're like, you need to leave. You need to go to Soledad PD. They're calling for you. I said, what the hell, right? This is the first day of the academy. Why do I got to leave? And I go and I see Police Chief Jack Griggs at that time. And I'm in his office, and I said, what's going on, sir? You called me. I was at the police academy first day. And he goes, yeah, I know. He goes, I want to talk to you about hiring you full time. I said, excuse me? And he goes, do you want the job? He goes, we want to sponsor you through the academy. I was like,
yes, please.
Oh, please. He had spoken with the officers that I was working with. I had worked with them for about a year and a half. And I earned my stripes, basically. I put in the work with the guys, the handling calls, everything was done for free, and I did it for free. I never once complained. And he goes, that's what we're looking for. We want to offer you a position. Here's your room and board. He gave me a check for my room and board. Here's your tuition.
Now, is that where Soledad would normally send their people for the academy?
Yeah, normally send their guys to Gilroy Police Academy. So he gave me a check. I was like, wow. And then the following week, I got put on payroll. I was one of the lowest paid officers in Monterey County at that time.
But you were paid.
But I was paid.
And that's the thing that for those who've not gone through that process, when you put yourself through the academy, obviously there's the outpouring of your own money.
Yeah.
But the worst thing is if you get injured while you're going through, you've got nothing to fall back on.
Yeah, you're screwed.
As an employee of the agency, if you get injured, at least you have a little bit to fall back on as far as potentially workers' comp, that type deal.
Yeah. So
I apologize to everybody. We are recording outside, and we've got a helicopter that's decided it wants to fly over. I don't know how often that happens. Did you bring the cops with you?
Right? It's H-70, bro.
Are they looking for you?
No, so yeah, I did I got hired full time. I was sponsored not through the academy. So the next day I went and had my uniform patches changed over to Soledad PD right away. Right. And now I'm sponsored. And
I'm picturing in the academy the sleeve. If the patch didn't match up correctly and you had the seam marks.
Yeah, luckily it was only one day. The patches only had been on for like a week, dude. So they hadn't set in yet. So that was good. But yeah, so now I was a sponsored cadet, and like I told you earlier, school is not. I'm not good. I can't focus. I can focus on what I know, and that's back then it was police work. I knew that, but sitting there, a test taker, not a test taker, studier, I get sidetracked so easy, right? And so the academy didn't come easy to me. I failed, the academy, you're familiar with it. You fail a test and you get one chance to make it up and you're booted out, right?
It's not like the stress level goes through the roof when you fail that first one.
Right? So I failed child sex crimes. Like I think everybody failed that one, right? Failed it, but now you got the pucker factor because, the next time you take that test, if you fail it, you're done.
Right.
Right? So I passed that one. And then we got on to scenarios, right? So now we're in scenarios and I knock on the door, we're in scenario mode, right? Knock on the door and a guy answers open the door, right? And he says, I go, you call the police officer, how can I help you? And he goes, I think I've been raped. The 19-year-old kid in me let out the loudest laugh. Scenario was over. I failed. So there was a lot of growing up that I needed to do at that time.
I'm sure they didn't alter the scenario for the recruit.
No.
I'm sure not everybody who knocked on that door got the guy going, I think I've been raped.
I think I've been raped, that he's holding his ass, dude. That's the part where I just let out the biggest laugh. And I'm like, I knew. I'm like, I failed. I'm done, right? So yeah, the scenario was over. I failed. I had to come back the next day and retake it, and I passed. So I made it through the academy. The other challenge I had was jumping over that stupid wall. I think, I was one of the last ones that finally got over it right before we were about to get, cycled out. But I got over it, and the minute you're over it, it's easy after that. So
taking you back a little bit, so your dad was a prison guard. You knew from a young age, though, that wasn't what you wanted to do. Yeah. Anybody else in your family or immediately in your life that brought the law enforcement aspect, or where do you think it came from?
So my cousin was a deputy. My cousin got married to a deputy. Another cousin got married to a public safety officer from Marina. So those two were my law enforcement side. Family functions, all three of us were the black sheep of the family. We were the real cops. we had nothing in common. Every time they told stories, it's like we knew we got them there. But after that, you're on your own. You can babysit them. There was also one mentor in my whole life that I looked up to, and now he is a fire arson investigator for Cal Fire. But he started off as a reserve. He did everything the same way. I tried to follow it. And he'd been a big influence in my life. So,
when did the switch? Because you didn't stay with Soledad PD.
I stayed with them. I ended up retiring with them. So I stayed with Soledad PD, and in 2008, I got sent to the gang task force up at Salinas.
Okay, so the Salinas connection is just through work.
Yeah. So, but I reported to them. They were my supervisors. I had nothing to do with Soledad while I was assigned to the gang task force. Best years of my freaking life, dude, because we had the whole county of Monterey. Solid guys, and it was a stat-driven unit. So you had to perform or you were gone. I was with I remember first month or so on the unit, And I was assigned with a partner of mine who had been with the gang task force for about 2 years already. He was burnt out. And he needed a vacation. So they assigned me with him as a new guy, right? And we weren't doing anything, and I got pulled into the office like, hey, we're thinking about sending you back. You're not pulling in any stats. And I said, I'm the new guy. I just got to keep my mouth shut and just, I do what I'm told until, I know otherwise. Buddy, real good friend of mine now, stepped up and he goes, hey, it's not him, it's me. I'm burnt out. I need a vacation. He wants to go and do
permanent
stuff.
Vacation.
Yeah. He wants to go and do stuff. He goes, but I'm telling him no. So he stepped up and, I got switched out. He went on vacation and the rest was history.
Did you retire out of the gang task force or did you end up going back to your agency?
I ended up going back to my agency. I was with my agency back about a year before I got injured, and then I ended up ultimately retiring a year later. So now we're in 2012 when I retired.
What kind of injury did you end up with?
Long story short, or I'll give you the long version. We were working CalGrip overtime. I was assigned to TAC Team 2. We were doing a simultaneous search warrant. Team 1 had hit the house. Team 2 was my team, and we were driving up to the house. Our target was standing outside of our house looking at TAC Team 1 going after his buddy, right? He's looking right. We're coming left, and he turns to look at us, and he sees us, and he takes off running. The chase is on, we run around the house. I somehow step in a hole. I forgot what it was, but I tore my ACL, tore my meniscus. That wasn't the injury that got me to retire. We caught the guy. I knew something was wrong because I couldn't walk anymore after the adrenaline wore off. I sat in the patrol car, and I couldn't get out of the patrol car. And I told my sergeant, I said, hey, I go, something's not right. I go, my knee's killing me. And my sergeant at that time, he goes, here, just fill out these forms. He hands me the workman's comp forms. So I filled them out.
But all the pain was just in your knee?
All right here. It was all on my right leg, my right knee. And I fill out the forms, and the next day they send me to the doctor, and they take an x-ray, and they're like, oh, there's something there. We got to send you to orthopedic surgeon so you can take a look at it. And workman's comp was pretty fast. The next following week, I'm at the orthopedic surgeon's office, and he lays me down, and he bends my knees up, and he grabs the back of my calf, and he yanks, and the whole knee goes forward. It's the worst pain I felt, bro.
When you got injured, well, what was going through your head like when it first started? Do you think that I'll be able to come back from this, or could you kind of tell in the back of your mind this was worse than what you thought it was?
No, I know. I just honestly I thought it was just going to be just a normal knee injury. Be back to work. I knew guys that got their ACLs fixed. It wasn't a big issue. Never once did I think this was it. And doctor confirms my ACL and my meniscus are torn. He says, what do you want to do? Do you want to get a cadaver? You'll need a new one in 5 years. Or do you want to use your patella tendon and we can make that into your ACL? So I chose the patella, have surgery. 3 weeks out of surgery, I wake up, and my wife was in the medical field, right? And I wake up and I tell her, I'm having a hard time breathing. Something's not right. She goes, we're going to the hospital. She rushes me to the hospital. They do an ultrasound of the leg, and they find that there's a blood clot on the side of my knee, right here in the main vein. But I'm telling her I'm having a hard time breathing. They do an MRI CAT scan. Nothing pops up, right? So they send me home with some blood thinners the next morning. The next morning, after I'm home, I wake up and I tell my wife, I said, I can't catch my breath. Something's wrong. I can't catch my breath. She rushes me back to the ER. They run the ultrasound on my leg. The clot's gone. So
my guess is it's moved.
It's traveled. So the minute, I'll never forget, the minute they did the ultrasound, the nurse, I hear her say, or the technician says, it's gone. Next thing I know, I'm flipped over on the bed, right? And they're wheeling me away to freaking OR. And I was like, what the hell? not OR, the MRI CAT scan. They did some contrasting liquid in me, and the clot that was in my leg had now traveled. So I had 2 in each lung. They could overnight, dude. I had 2 in each lung. The doctor says, we need to do surgery on you. I said, surgery? So they pull me into the cath lab. They open up my jugular. They shove a filter into my jugular down in my heart. I go in, and back in 2011, this was new technology. The doctor called it Roto-Rooter machine. They went into my left calf, and they put in something into my leg, into my vein, and it cleaned my veins ultrasonically from head to toe. It like cleaned me out, dude.
Just kind of like shot a pressure wash through your whole system?
Basically, but it was 7-day thing that they did.
So you ended up spending 7 days in the hospital?
I was in the hospital for 7 days. When they pulled out the machine, they pulled out the filter, I had 6 clots attached to the filter.
Now, in your past, did you have a history of blood clots or anything that you knew of?
So in 2000, I got a clot in my leg, right? And back then, it was attributed to carrying my baby Glock on my ankle because I had the Danner boots that were up to here. Then I had a tight holster around my ankle plus the gun. Sitting in a patrol car for hours on end, They're like, hey, that's just, kind
of the circulation got cut off
issue, right? Never once that I thought it was work. Once that I thought it was work related. It was my choice to carry my backup gun on my ankle, and it was a cool thing to do back then, right? I switched it and I put it in my back pocket after that, dude. I ended up getting a revolver and put it in my back pocket. But that was 2000. Fast forward 2011, I had surgery. I got the blood clot, and they ran some tests. Come to find out, I have a clotting disorder. My entire life, I had no idea. It's called force factor 5. It sounds like some freaking...
Sounds cool.
It sounds cool, but it's force factor 5.
You're a superhero or something.
One of those Power Rangers type bullshit, dude. So I have a clotting disorder, which requires me to be on blood thinners for the rest of my life. It's a twofold. It's a good and bad thing. Good thing is I can never have a heart attack because I'm on blood thinners. Bad thing is I'm a cheap date. 2 drinks and I'm done, bro. So
pour him a double.
Exactly. You're gonna be dragging me home, dude. So I'm on blood thinners for the rest of my life, and that's when the reality set in. I'll never forget talking to my doctor and being, I still get emotional.
I completely understand.
I got hired at 19, bro. I'm 34 years old now. I don't know anything else other than being a cop. And I remember telling the doctor, I said, this is it. I go, if you write that down, that I need blood thinners for the rest of my life, I go, you're taking my career away. And he goes, let's just play it day by day. And about 2 months after I had been on blood thinners, he says, I need to do something and I need to make this official. So I called my union rep. And mind you, this whole time, while I'm out on leave, I'm on 48.50 time, so I'm making money at home, tax-free, right?
But ultimately, it's not what you want.
It's not what I want. And I lived an hour and 20 minutes away from where I work. I worked in Saudade. I lived in Paso, and I wanted to be close to the guys. I want to still be in it, right? So the guys made me their POA president. So now we're in the middle of negotiations while I'm out on leave, right? So now I'm going back to the city on behalf of the POA, and
did that cause conflict issues for you dealing with your own workers' comp issues?
I got to see the backside of it that I would have never seen, and I'm glad I was the POA president at that time. So we were in negotiations, and the city was taking a 22% pay cut to the officers. They were going to take 22%. And I'm in negotiations. I said, you guys are going to you lose everybody, right? Everyone's going to leave because other agencies are paying more. And they said, we're also going to lay off 2 officers. And I'm like, in my head, I said, I can't let that happen, right? And then the city says, we have 2 officers right now who are injured on duty. And one of those officers, if he chooses to retire, we won't fight it. And it'll save 2 positions. I knew they were talking about me.
I was going to say, were they inferring it was you?
They were inferring it was me. So after that meeting, my union rep comes out and he goes, hey, I got to go back in with the city. They want to talk to me. So now they pull my union rep aside and they're talking to him. He comes out 45 minutes later. He goes, hey, bro. He goes, they were talking about you. They said, if you retire right now, they won't fight you. And you'll save 2 officers. Talk about pressure. That's a big move. You know, I wasn't ready to leave. I was not ready to leave. I didn't know anything else, right? So the whole workman's comp thing is new to me. I've never once did I file a claim. I didn't know, I didn't know what workman's comp was. I always thought that when you file a claim, the city was going to use that against you, as leverage at some point, one or another, right? So I got injured. I never once told the sergeant, hey, my back hurts, my hip hurt, my ear hurts. I can't hear out of my left ear, right? All because the jack-offs would play games with your earpiece and turn your radio up when you're writing reports, right? So, I never once said that. So here I am filing workman's comp.
But you bring up a good point, though, because I think there's a lot of officers who in their career have not reported injuries simply because of that fear. Like, oh, my agency is going to use this against me. Mm-hmm. The problem is a lot of those guys come to the end of their career and those injuries have built and gotten worse. And now they're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place because it's like, oh, well, yeah, 10 years ago this happened. Well, why didn't you report it then?
Exactly. And I have another story that led up to getting a bigger percentage when I retired. We were chasing a parolee, and as we went to go grab him, he turned around and he stabbed me right here with his meth pipe. I didn't think nothing of it. The sergeant sent me to the county clinic, got AIDS test, got hepatitis tested, all this other stuff, right? That sergeant, he wrote down a workman's comp just an inquiry. He just wrote down the DWC form and saved it in my file. Come to find out that when they pulled my file for my retirement, that got me 2 extra %.
Lucky that never got purged or lost or whatever.
Yeah, no, it was he left it in my workman's comp file, and I was like, wow, I got 2% for an injury that I never even thought of. It's like whatever, So, like I said, I knew the writing was on the wall, and my union rep comes out. He goes, you got to make the decision. And I said, I've never done this. I don't know what decision do I make. I don't want to retire. I don't know what else to do. I don't know the workman's comp system. And this whole time, the workman's comp adjuster taking care of me. Never once did I have any issues. Never once, I needed an ice machine. 2 days later, the ice machine's at my door. I needed a TINS unit for the pain. 2 days later, it's at the door. I need medication. Anything. Workman's comp was handling it. The minute the city made that inference that, hey, you can retire, my union rep says, you need a lawyer, bud. You need a lawyer because this can go south, and this is more than what I can offer you, right? So I called my union rep, and he gave me an attorney's name. I call the attorney, and I tell him what's up. That attorney tells me, the minute I contact your city and tell them that you are now represented, he goes, things are going to change. Things are going to change. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, just be ready. He goes, your prescription refills, any medication you need, any machinery you need, any requests that you want to call your workman's comp adjuster and talk to her. He goes, that's all going to end.
Did it end up changing?
Oh, the same day that, I told the city that I had representation, The city wouldn't talk to me no more. The workman's comp wouldn't talk to me anymore. It's like they freaking closed the door on me. And it left me so freaking bitter. So bitter because I've been shot at. I've given 15 years of my freaking life to that city. And they just turned their back on me, dude. They turned their back on me.
It's hard to come to that acceptance, but when you're in that situation, you quickly realize you're just a number on a spreadsheet.
That's all it was.
And as good of an officer as you were, at the end of the day, it comes down to the dollars and cents to that city.
When I tell you this next statement, dude, you're going to be shocked because I still can't believe it. 15 years of never once not missing a payday. Every other Friday, boom. Every other Friday was our paycheck. Every other Friday was our overtime check, right? Never once. I tell the city I'm going to retire September 14th, 2012. Put on my handcuffs. It's the day I retired. That following Friday, there's no deposit. I said, what the hell? I'm not rich. I need my check. We lived paycheck to paycheck at that time. And I called the city and I said, hey, and I didn't get a deposit this morning. What's up? The person on the other line tells me, you're no longer an employee. You go to our accounts payable and we pay our bills when we want.
Wow. What'd your attorney say to that?
Oh, my attorney was pissed. 3 months with no check. I had an 11-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 4-year-old with my wife. House bills, life bills, car payments, food. My marriage was on the verge of freaking divorce. We had no money. And I was a bill. I was considered a fucking bill.
I'm assuming it's gotten resolved to this point.
Yeah.
Do they still treat it, though, as you're just a bill to the city?
I don't know. I haven't gone back.
Do you get your payments now regularly?
Oh, the minute the state took over.
Okay.
Oh, the minute the state took over, I haven't had an issue. No issues. It was until it was getting my vacation, my sick hours, getting what the city owed to me. That's what took the longest.
How long was the total process between the diagnosis of the blood clot to September 14th, 2012?
I got injured May 11th, 2011. I retired September 14th, 2012. And the first check got paid out February of 2013.
In hindsight, for anybody who might be listening to this, who's going through something similar, looking back on it, if you could have done anything different, what would you have done from the get-go?
I would have left to a higher paying agency, first of all.
Before the injury, obviously.
Before the injury.
Anything you would do that you look back on it now and say, I would have done this different in dealing with that process?
I probably would have got my personal affairs in order, finances-wise, before I agreed to being retired. We probably did the math a little bit better. Probably would have asked my wife. We had babies at that time, so it was cheaper for her to stay home than to work and just pay a daycare. I think that's life for everybody. But I would have probably figured that out first instead of putting my whole family through crap for months.
So from a financial perspective, it would have benefited your family for your wife just to stop working and pay for daycare for your kids.
Yeah. So that's probably what I would have done different. The whole workman's comp process was easy. The attorneys take I want to say it's 7% or 12% cut right off the top. I can't remember what it was. So that wasn't an issue. I was never expecting a payout. I never knew that you got injured and they actually gave you money. I was so naive to that, and,
would you have gotten an attorney sooner?
No, I probably wouldn't have, because the workman's comp was taking care of me. Workman's comp, they were there. I'm not going to lie. They were there for me. They knew I didn't have representation. My workman's comp adjuster I called her and she was on the phone. I emailed her. She answered back. There was never I never even thought about getting an attorney because things were being taken care of, You
mentioned though that you didn't know that there would be a payout.
No.
If what I'm getting or what I'm thinking of is, where would you find that information sooner, and would it have benefited you? Did it just come from talking to the attorney?
It came from talking to my attorney. No one in my department, there was injuries, but back then it was, okay, he's injured, he'll be back to work. And that's where it finished. No one ever talked about, hey, what else happens when you get injured? What's this whole workman's comp thing? We never had anybody come in and explain to us the workman's comp process. No one ever talked to us about that. For me, I'm part of that old guard still, where you come to work, you do your job well, and you go home. You don't try to raise any questions because there's a lot of politics in policing.
No, I get it. And in looking at it from that perspective, ultimately, that's how all of us would hope to operate.
Yeah.
I come to work, I do my job, I go home. But the thing is once you find yourself in the middle of that battle, like you said, it's to your benefit. Even if your mindset is, I want to get back to work, learn everything you can.
Yeah, ask questions
about the whole process. So at least you're well informed when you're making decisions.
Yeah. Ask questions. When I got that attorney, I was asking questions. One of the questions was, what can I do after? I'm 30. I was 33 at that time. I retired at 34. I said, I know nothing else. I have no skills other than being a cop. I was a damn good cop. I don't want to toot my own horn, dude. I picked up rocks. I looked underneath. There was days I was lazy, didn't feel like doing anything. But I was a damn good cop. And I didn't know what else to do. I did not know. I was lost for 8 months after I retired.
I want to get into what you're doing now, but real quick, and I don't mean to keep taking you down this path.
No, that's fine. You're going to freaking make me drink tonight, buddy.
Only 2 drinks, though. So it's going to be a quick night.
It'll be easy.
30 minutes and you're done.
Dude, I'm going to be texting you pictures tonight, dude.
Please don't. Please don't. In that 8 months, going to the headspace, the Rubik's Cube between your ears.
Yeah.
Did you ever get to a point where you needed to talk to somebody?
I was afraid. That stigma's still there. I wanted to retire in good standings. I wanted to retire being able to carry a gun. I didn't want anybody knowing that I needed help.
If you could do it over again, would you have gone to talk to somebody?
In a heartbeat.
How do you think we break that stigma of getting, and I'll put all of us in that bubble. How do we get us to get past that ego, that sense of pride and being able to ask? I don't want to say ask for help, but just step across that line of saying, what's going on in my head? I can't figure it out. You talk about being a car guy. You could flip open a hood on a car, but if you don't have that computer, you're not going to be able to tell what's wrong with that motor.
Yeah.
How do we get our group to get to that point where we can say, hey, I need somebody to plug the computer in and figure out what's wrong with me?
What I ended up doing, and take this for what it's worth, this is just my advice. I didn't go to a psychologist. I didn't go to a psychiatrist. I went to my primary care physician. There's that doctor confidentiality thing. And I was honest with him. I was honest with him, and I said, dude, I'm not right. I'm fucked in the head. Excuse my language.
Now, this was obviously after you actually retired?
Yeah.
And what was your doctor's response to it?
He listened to me. You know, as much as I tell my wife everything, she has no clue half of the stuff that went down. My doctor just listened to me, you know, and I knew it wasn't going to go anywhere. That's what made me comfortable, you know. He prescribed the low dose of fluoxetine, so that's what I'm on now, and it just mellows me out. I suffer from anxiety, bad anxiety. I thought people that suffer from anxiety just a bunch of crackheads, right? But no, it really messes with you. It really messes with you. Where, you know, during one of my depositions, when I was going through my whole workman's comp issue, they sent me to Santa Cruz to go talk with their attorneys, and we were doing a deposition. And one of the questions they asked me, they said, how do you mow your lawn? I said, how do I mow my lawn?
Left or right?
Right. And it immediately clicked. The paranoia was there so bad, where I remember I had told my wife, I go, somebody's watching us. And she goes, you're full of crap. We lived off of Highway 46 in Paso. There's the firehouse. It's called Branch Road. And we lived off of Burgundy. Branch Road and 46. Branch runs north-south, 46 east-west. I remember seeing a white full-size van parked. And people are going to think I'm fucking nuts, but I'm not. I remember seeing a white van parked on the roadway. And I'm like, what the hell? And this particular day, my neighbor, we lived on 2 acres. My neighbor lived on 2 acres. This particular day, my neighbor was a PG&E lineman and never home, you know, right? And he came home with a brand new John Deere riding mower. And he's like, hey, Junior, he goes, I got a deal for you. He goes, you mow my lawns? He goes, I'll provide everything. We had no fence separating our houses. So I'm like, shit, yeah, I'll do it. I had fresh out of surgery, right? So I'm sitting on this fucking John Deere tractor, put my knee up on the hood, I'm driving, and that was, I got asked, how do you mow your lawn? And it clicked. I said, sitting on a John Deere lawnmower with my right leg up on the hood. Sure shit, they had pictures of me. They were following me. My attorney confirmed that they wanted to make sure I was not faking it while out on duty.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll fast forward, you said, for about 8 months. What did your path change to? Because you're an HR director today. Is that what you immediately went into, or what started being where you were looking for work?
My wife got pissed at me because I got hooked on Invicta watches. You guys familiar with those?
I've heard of it.
Yeah. So I started buying Invicta watches. I had 24 of them at one point. She's like, you're spending way too much damn money. And you get your ass out. So one word of advice, guys, that I can give you is make sure to save all your post certificates. Any training you can go to, anything you have while you were a police officer, put them in a binder, put them in a folder, just put them away. You just make sure you don't lose them. And this is the reason why I'm saying this is I had all my certificates. I still have them all, right? And my father-in-law was living with us at that time. And he was an IT guy, right? And I said, hey, Jesus, I go, I need your help. And he says, what's that? I go, your daughter wants me to get my ass back to work. I go, but I've never had a resume. I've never needed one. He goes, I got you. He took all my training certificates. And damn it, boy, I look good on paper, dude. I'm telling you. He made me a page and a half to 2-page resume with all the training categorized that was all related to one another, right? And my wife says, just start applying on Craigslist for jobs. You know, in 2012, Craigslist was still used a lot, right? So I started applying for jobs and just sending out cold resumes, you know?
Were you looking at any particular job in particular?
I knew I did not want to be a security guard.
Okay.
Because that's, cops always go to security or private investigators. I was not going to do that. I don't have I don't have powers of arrest anymore. I'm not going to put myself out there and, continue to do the same job with no coverage, right? And part of my settlement was I can no longer be a police officer or do that same type of work, right? So I needed to find something else. And so we just started submitting.
So even if a city was willing or an agency was willing to hire you as an officer with your existing medical conditions, your agreement
my agreement per my retirement with PERS
bars you from.
That's it. I cannot do the same work that I was doing prior. It's actually written in my agreement that I did with them. So, so I submitted a bunch of resumes. I think I submitted 9 or 10 resumes, just random jobs. And a few months later, I get a phone call from some lady. Her name was Rose. And she says, I'm trying to get in contact with Jose Rodriguez. I said, yeah, how can I help you? She's like, my name's Rose. I'm with Kelly Services. And I said, Kelly Services? I go, isn't that like a temp agency? I said, I'm not interested. I don't want to be a temp. I don't want to be temp anything, right? And she goes, no, hear me out. She goes, we saw your resume and we think you'd be a good fit for one of our new programs we have in San Miguel, California, which is just up north from Paso. So I met with her. I thought I was going to get jumped. She wanted me to meet at the Holiday Inn, not the Holiday, the Hampton Inn in San Luis Obispo.
Yeah, 1 o'clock in the morning.
Right? In the lobby. So I go down there and she's sitting there. I introduce myself. We meet. And she's legit. She was a director for a staffing company. And they had just got a new big contract in San Miguel with a well-known name winery company out of Modesto. And she says, we just got this new position. It's a program manager, on-site program manager, which means you'll be working at their facility and you'll be in charge of all the temps. I said, well, let's give it a shot. So, I accepted the position. I'm getting my retirement check. Plus now they call it double dipping, right? So now I'm working for a staffing company, but I'm in-house. So I'm an actual employee. And
now you didn't originally submit your resume to Kelly Services.
No.
Did she ever say how it ended up getting from wherever it was to her?
No idea. And I asked her she had asked me, she goes, how'd you get it to my email? I said, I didn't. And I go, I responded to an ad on Craigslist about, I don't even remember what it was, but this was all through Craigslist. She goes, it made it to my work email. I said, cool. So, I accepted the position. Now I am an on-site program manager for Kelly Services. My office was based out of the big winery in San Miguel. I also was responsible for all the temp labor in San Luis Obispo at another winery.
But under the same company.
Under the same company. And then I was also responsible for the tasting room staff at a third winery in Santa Ynez, California. I was there for 3 years. I was pretty good at it. It's kind of weird, I went from being a cop to now I'm in the staffing world, hiring, firing, just dealing with just employee conflicts and whatnot. And
did you find that initial transition easy, or was it difficult?
It was difficult. I'll never forget when I hired my first employee with a fake Social Security card. Dude, I'm sitting there and I'm doing the onboarding paperwork and he hands me his freaking card and it's fake. The numbers are typed. And my boss is there. Rose was there, right? She's training me. And I said, where'd you get this card at? I asked him. She goes, you can't ask him that question. I go, but it's fake. So I was still in cop mode,
right? The cop kicks in.
And
the guy comes in for an interview and leaves in cuffs.
She goes, you can't ask him those questions. I said, but it's fake. I said, this is somebody else's Social Security number. This guy's doing identity theft right now, right? She goes, give it back to him. I said, no, it's fake. She forced me
breaking every HR rule in the book.
Took it out of my hand and gave it back to him and says, sorry, but we can't hire you. She goes, that's how you handle that. I said, no, it's not what you...
That's the way you handle it.
I secretly ended up giving the guy's name to a couple buddies of mine, so... But that was one of the transitions that was very hard for me. Very, very hard for me was just knowing that people break the law and I can't do anything about it anymore.
Have you been able to make that switch mentally now?
Yeah. Now it's easy. So I was there for 3 years. Right before I left, I got a little promotion. Now, not only was I in charge of San Miguel, San Luis Obispo, Santa Ynez, I was also handling another winery in Columbia, Washington, or Woodinville, Washington.
Road trip.
Yeah. So I went out there twice, but I was handling it from San Miguel mostly. And Kelly Services says, hey, we want all of our employees to open up a LinkedIn site, an app, get your account up and running.
Create a profile.
Create a profile. So I created a profile at their request, right? So I added all the information. I added that, and a couple months later, I get a cold call from some recruiter up in Washington. She's like, hey, we have a program position in Santa Maria. Would you be interested? I was not looking for a job, but I said, hey, you called me. What can't hurt, right? So I drove down to Santa Maria one day, and I met with a lady down there. And there was an aerospace company in Santa Maria that would make first-class seats for Emirates Airlines. And they needed a program manager to handle 1,300 temp employees on site. So I applied because they called me, and then they made an offer, and I took it. I doubled what Kelly Services was paying me. Mind you, I had an hour commute now, right? So I was down there for 3 years. It was fun. 1,300 employees. I would work closely with their employment health or EH&S department, Environmental Health Services department. And they knew that I was a police officer, so they kind of liked that, right? And
except when you're yelling at new hires.
Exactly, right? So I knew going in there, it was a 24-hour facility. And the minute I got to the night shift, I'm like, oh, dude, there's shit happening here that is not going to fly with me, right? And yeah, sure shit, there's people on meth, trying to stay up at all hours of the night, and you can see them, they're tweaking, right? And here they are working for a FAA facility, right? So I met with the EH&S, and I said, hey, I go, just on my experience, I go, there's some people that shouldn't be working here. So then we developed a random drug test policy.
Oh, not just you standing at the door with a pen light and a DRE card?
I should, right?
Let me check your
that'd
pupils.
Be cool. Come here. Follow me, please. And
close your eyes, count to 30. You understand? You only took 2 seconds to count to 30, right?
Right. So we did a random drug testing policy, and we implemented it one night on night shift, right? We pulled in 300 employees.
And 100 people quit the next day?
37 got fired that night, dude. 2 people tested positive for LSD. In my whole career as a police officer, I never dealt with anybody with LSD, dude. 2 people were on LSD. I'm like, what the? No gun. I had a pocket knife in my damn pocket, dude. I'm like, this is dangerous crap that we're dealing with, right? So we got everybody out, and then the people realized, okay, they're not messing around anymore. Then we slowly started losing people, but the company fixed itself. And then the writing was on the wall. They were spending a lot of money, and I couldn't be there anymore. I knew what was going to happen. And I got the call stating, hey, we're losing the account. We're losing the account because they can't afford us anymore. You got hired to work here. If we don't have the account, you're probably going to get laid off. I said, no problem. That was February of, actually, no, take that back. That was November of 2017 when I got the call that I was probably going to get laid off. In February, I knew it was coming, so I started looking for work, which led me to where I'm at now, human resources rep and safety for a well-known winery in Paso, Robles.
Now, making that jump, so you started out as a program director.
Yeah, just handling the temp employees.
So for somebody who's currently in law enforcement, I'm assuming even military too, probably none of us have ever even thought about the position of program director.
Never knew what it was.
Never even knew what it was. So explain in a kind of a nutshell what that is, but more importantly, what what are we bringing to the table to leverage for something for that kind of position?
So the reason I was offered that position was, as a program manager, you're responsible for all the employees on site. You're responsible for them to show up on time. You're responsible for make sure that they're not breaking any company rules, any client company rules. Make sure they're doing the job right. As police officers, and this is why I said it's kind of weird that being a cop and being in HR, they go hand in hand. I like dealing with problems. I like dealing with problems when I was a cop. I liked physical confrontation. Haven't had any yet, but I've seen physical confrontations at work, right? You have your employees that come in drunk, come in high. You have your employees who have issues with their paychecks, issues with their benefits. The reason I got offered that position was because we dealt with that on a day-to-day basis as police officers. Even though we thought we were just going to a call, we're helping people with, landlord-tenant disputes, private property trespass, you name it. It's the same thing that HR has to deal with on a daily basis.
So would you say the transition from program director to HR it's a very small jump?
Very small jump. Yeah, it's the same thing. So, now I went from, 500 employees company-wide was my first job, 1,300 employees at the second job. Now I just hired another employee on Tuesday of last week, 262 employees. It's cake.
Now, for somebody coming close to their retirement, their transition, whatever it is, and maybe now all of a sudden they're thinking, okay, I'm going to go start looking, program director, HR. In the interim, is there any specific training or something that they could have under their belt that maybe they don't already have right now, or that they're not even thinking of, that you're like, hey, try to get to this training class, or try to get...
Yeah, get your professional human resources certification. Get any type of certification that you can if you're thinking about going in the HR realm of things. I got mine after I left. It was, I want to say it was $1,300, $1,300, and it was a 6-month class. I did
online or in person?
I did it online, and then in person I took the test, and that gave me my professional human resources certification. So now I can add those little initials at the end of my signature on my email, right? Special. So, but it got me a raise, and now with those little initials at the end of your name, you can take that and apply, because people know, okay, you took the initiative, you have that training, you have all the life experience because you were a police officer. People are going to trust you. Company, your HR, you're a confidential employee, and you deal with a lot of stuff with HR. I've dealt with, attempted suicides at work. Everyone else is panicking, and it's just another normal day. I'm making jokes out of it at the end of the day, right? Because that's how we deal with it.
Unfortunately, that probably gets you in trouble.
Yeah, no, I keep it to myself. And that's the other thing, guys. You know what happens in the locker room. You know what happens freaking in the patrol cars. You know what happens. Everyone's jokesters, dude. That's the one thing I miss about being a cop, dude. The camaraderie and the jokes and stuff that we played. The stuff that I did as a cop, man, I'm surprised I was still freaking, I never got fired, dude.
You look back on it now from the HR perspective, you're like...
I was a horrible employee, dude. Now...
We all were.
So I'm responsible for everyone's benefits at the winery, right? So I make sure, your benefits are good, your wife's benefits, your kids' benefits. Make sure everyone's all lined up. Make sure everyone's good for 2022, 2023. And I'm the one that's hounding you towards the end of the year during open enrollment. Hey, submit your forms, right? I was that employee back in the day where, screw you, I'm not going to respond to any emails. I don't need benefits, and here I am pulling my hair out because no one's responding to me, because I get those employees now who don't care about what benefits they get. And I got to make sure you get enrolled before the end of the year, because, you need benefits. So
you're 10 years removed now.
Yeah.
From law enforcement.
Yeah.
In that 10 years, though, and not trying to talk about overly touchy subjects, but the number of mass shootings have increased.
Yeah.
Are you getting pulled on for your knowledge and experience in law enforcement to address measures and protocols to deal with that?
I'm actually working on a active shooter policy right now for our company. I'll be responsible for handling all the training, and I'll be working closely with our police departments so we can have an active shooter training at our work.
It's crazy to think that a winery needs an active shooter policy.
And that's the life now, dude. And especially our winery. The wineries that I was used to working at, all are enclosed, one-way access. You need a key card to get in. My winery, dude, it's just, you just drive right up and you can make it all the way to my office, and I'm in the last office in the freaking end of the property. I'll answer the door like, how the hell did you get back here?
Want a glass of wine? Yeah.
And that's another thing, man. Never have I ever worked anywhere where you can keep beer and wine in the fridge at the office, dude. I'm sitting there and, I'll have a crap day and I have an 805 sitting there and the intern's like, holy crap. Like, leave me alone.
Hey, there are some perks.
I come into work on Monday, as a matter of fact, and there's a half empty bottle of wine and 4 glasses. I'm like, who the hell was drinking in my office? Come to find out it was the owner.
Well, you could only handle 2 glasses, so
Exactly.
a half empty bottle. That's
I'm like, who had a party and I was not invited? What the hell? No.
They just started it early because they knew you weren't going to go late.
No, but there's so many perks working for a private. I went 7 years without a raise, without an increase when I was a police officer. The city, we never have money. We're short on funds. Every other thing they can tell you so they wouldn't pay the officers, right? They would tell us. And then I get into the private sector, and I've never worked for anybody that gives you a consistent minimum 3% raise every year. This year I got 12. Last year I got 8. And it's like, holy crap. That people take care of their employees because it's a a family-run winery. They make sure all of us are taken care of.
So I know we've already addressed this. You obviously did not want to leave law enforcement.
I'd go back right now if I could.
But my question actually is, when you look at your life today and you look at how your family is doing today, are you happier to be where you're at now, or would you want them to deal with the stress of you being a cop?
I'll stay where I'm at. I talk to my guys every day. We still keep in contact, and everyone tells me, hey, it's not the same anymore. Towards the end of my career, cell phone cameras started coming out. Videos, cop blogs or, cop watch or whatever you call them, started following us on the task force. Every time you'd pull somebody over, somebody was across the street with a cell phone in their hand recording you, right? And I've always been the one where if you got nothing to hide, you got nothing to worry about, right? But now it's to the point where everything gets edited when a cop makes a mistake. And we're all normal. We're all humans. We all make mistakes, right? But there is some bad apples. Don't get me wrong. There is some bad apples out there that just give everybody a bad name. And, everyone I talk to says it's not the same anymore. It's not the same. It's a reactive policing. You can't go out there and be proactive anymore. And it's a shame. It's a shame. I grew up as a young child, and to this day, whenever I see a police officer, I'm like, oh shit, respect. I was speeding. Yeah, let me slow down. I still get nervous, and then seeing the kids out there who disrespect police officers and, have no respect for, themselves and no respect for anyone else. It's a shame. It's a shame.
The only thing I will say to that, though, and my honest take on this is over the last couple of years, I've kind of gone through ebbs and flows, and I'm at a point right now where I'm really about the good cops staying. Yeah, there's a lot of noise right now of negativity.
Yeah.
But the problem is there's a much bigger majority who they're not the ones who are going to bang the trash can lids and make a lot of noise. And that's who we got to remember we're always serving.
Yeah.
And so, for those who say, I don't want to do this anymore, make your own decision. Do what's best for you and your family. But if you're leaving simply because of the small minority making the noise, think about the bigger group.
You're right. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I also wish law enforcement would still be kind of not the old school ways, but I wish we could still do stuff like we did back then. Now you can't. But I remember, somebody ran from you, you scuffled and you dusted them off and they went home. Lesson learned, don't do that again. You can't do that nowadays.
And like you said, unfortunately, there are those who are in the profession who take advantage of what the profession offers them.
Yeah. And
that's what we're constantly fighting.
Yeah. And I worked with a couple of those guys where it was like, dude, what the hell are you doing, bro? When I was working and somebody got arrested, game was over. I don't need to be a dick to you anymore. And then you get the guys who are just constantly jabbing. It's like, why are you're changing his life already for the worse. Why do you got to keep on freaking digging at him while he's in custody?
The one thing that always sticks out in my head, and I remember this when I was a new cop, and I'm boiling it down to writing a ticket. And my training officer told me, if you're going to write the ticket, don't give them the lecture.
No.
If you're not going to write the ticket, then you can give them the lecture. But you never get to do both. And it's that same thing.
Yeah.
If you're taking the guy to jail, don't sit there and make this, I'm going to show you, let's take him to jail.
I worked with a guy who was blowing kisses at an inmate, dude. I'm like, why? What joy are you getting out of this, dude? One, he's mine in custody. He's not yours. So I actually told him, you need to get the hell out of here, dude. We're ruining his life and you're fucking up my day. Right. And, but then you get the good cops, who just are here to do the work and go home and, everyone gets treated with respect. Everyone gets treated normal. Everyone has bad days, but you don't got to be a dick when you're sent in jail already,
Well, I'm truly sorry that you lost your career. I'm happy for you though, that you found something that's benefiting you.
Thank you. It was a big change, bro. It was a huge change in my life. I'm still a cop. I'll never not be a cop, dude. But I've learned I don't carry my gun every day now. I've learned to just leave it in the safe. I don't need to be on guard all the time, even though I am. That'll never change. I'm glad I got to see my kids grow up. I'm glad I got to see, sporting events and, proms and, I'm a grandparent now.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So it's, I've gotten to see the good side of life instead of being on call and showing up, in uniform on New Year's Eve when everyone else is partying and, you're in town. I was in town in Paso from Soledad because they needed help. So I stopped by my house. So like, what the hell are you doing here? I was just a little bit away, but they needed help. So we came down. So
if anybody's got any questions more specific to what you're doing now, can they reach out?
Please reach out, guys.
What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Email, reach out to you, give them my contact information. That'd be great.
Can they just connect to you through LinkedIn?
Yeah. Find me on LinkedIn. Send me a message. Jose Rodriguez.
I'll put your LinkedIn link in the show notes.
Perfect. Yeah, that'll be great. Again, thank you for what you're doing. I wish I would have found this podcast, or they didn't have podcasts back then.
2012, they actually did. But it was,
yeah.
Joe Rogan was already at it back then.
Oh, wow. I wish I would have had some more information. Since you've contacted me, I've been listening to your podcasts, and, I can get through on a busy day. I can get through one in an 8-hour day. I got to cut it up in sections because I can't have my headphones in listening to freaking the podcast when I got employees walking in asking for help. But I try to get through one a day. So far I've done 2, and I wish I had this information back when this was going through me, when I was going through this myself. Again, it gets easier. One of the things that I live by, everything happens for a reason. My wife tells me that everything happened for a reason. So, yeah. Thank you.
I appreciate your time, sir.
No, thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you watching. But before you go, if you like the video, please hit that subscribe button. Also, any comments are appreciated. Thank you.